Welcome to Samuel Zwemer Theological Seminary, and we're looking at Samuel Zwemer's very famous essay on missions, The Glory of the Impossible. We trust that this essay will be an inspiration and encouragement to you as you go forward in mission work today. Samuel Zwemer says, when Isaiah saw the glory of God and received the burden of all the Gentiles' nations, his message was greater than he ever imagined, the burden of Arabia, Isaiah 21 verse 13. And Arabia became the cradle of Islam, and Islam after 13 centuries became a challenge to faith, and with other larger and more important Muslim lands confronts us today with the glory of the impossible. How well I remember my colleague, Canon Temple Gardner of Cairo, a most brilliant scholar and devout Christian, striking his desk and saying, the problem of Islam is impossible of solution. And one of the saintliest of missionaries, Miss Lila Trotter, artist and seer of North Africa, wrote just before her death, we who are engaged in Muslim work live in a land of blighted promises. That is a fact that none of us who love its people best can deny, and the deadly heart sickness of hope deferred sometimes makes even the most optimistic of us almost despair of seeing abiding fruitage to the work. No wonder that the whole sections of the Christian church have thrown off this burden as intolerable even in our day. South of the Mason and Dixon line, missions to Muslims are still an unknown quantity. The Southern Presbyterian, Baptist, Methodist churches have not even an a Muslim formula for the problem. It is not in their preview. Some 30 years ago at a student conference in Ruston, Louisiana, the delegates thought Islam was a new breakfast food. Dr. U. Vernon White, one-time secretary of the American board, wrote in the magazine called Christendom, Christian efforts to evangelize the Muslims have met with signal and consistent failure. The response to such efforts today is negligible, and there is little likelihood of any marked change in the near future. The Christian church ought to quit trying to make proselytes of Mohammedans. When we compare this statement with the verdict of the Roman Catholic Conference held in Louvain in 1930, we find that there also in the entire world of Islam is labelled in a special chapter with the emphasis Le Bloc incontrovertible. Again, the notorious volume of the Layman's Appraisal Committee on Rethinking Missions gave 10 lines of their report to Mohammedanism and actually stated, we believe that the strength of Islam is waning, and even where it exists, it is rather an ally than a foe in the arena of truth. Could any judgment be more superficial and false? There are 5 reasons why this religion of Mohammedan challenges all Christendom to really rethink the problem, to renew their faith, and to rekindle their love for Muslims at this critical hour. The verdict of history and of Christian theology on Mohammedanism and his system contains impossible contradictions. Was Muhammad a true prophet? Was he or a false prophet? Is Islam a Christian or a Jewish heresy? Or can it be grouped with lesser or non-Christian religions? No other ethnic religion has been so thoroughly studied, explained and explored or explained away as is Islam. Thomas Carlyle in his famous Heroes and Hero Worship is perfect illustration of this confusion. On Friday, May 8, 1840, he delivered his well-known eulogy on Mohammedan the hero as a prophet, than which I know no higher tribute to the character and message of the great Arabian. Muhammad, says he, is a true prophet of God. The soul of Islam is the soul of Christianity, the highest wisdom that heaven has revealed to our earth. This religion is a kind of Christianity. This man, this one country, had a spark from heaven that blazed an explosive power heaven high from Delhi to Grenada. End of quote. It is all magnificent, but is it true? Is it sincere? On May 12th, 4 days later, from the same platform, Carlyle, drunk with admiration, became Carlyle sober in his judgment, and he said, It was intrinsically an error, that notion of Muhammad's of his supreme prophethood, and has come down to us inextricably involved in error to this day, dragging along with it such a coil of fables, impurities, intolerances, as makes it a questionable step for me here and now to say, as I have done, that Muhammad was a true speaker at all, and not rather an ambitious charlatan, perversity and of sorts, and no speaker but a babbler. His Quran has become a stupid piece of absurdity, and we do not believe like him that God wrote that. Even in Arabia, as I commute, Muhammad will have exhausted himself and become obsolete, while this Shakespeare, this Dante will still be young. Here Thomas Hyle himself becomes the hero prophet. Anyone who has read Margaluth's Life of Muhammad or Tor Andre's proof that Muhammad was in close touch with Nestorian Christians and had opportunity to learn of Christ must face the theological historical problem of why Islam. Because this religion was in no sense a preparation for Christianity, but its defeat and overthrow. The Arabian prophet claimed not only to supplement but to supersede Jesus Christ. Islam is a false gospel. Islam is the moon that has eclipsed the sun of righteousness. Islam is rival of Christianity. Schlegel, in his Philosophy of History, closed his chapter on the Saracens with these words: a prophet without miracles, a religion without mysteries, a morality without love, which has always encouraged a thirst for blood, and which began and ended in the most unbounded sensuality. Why did God allow the rise of such a leader for such a world revolution? Dr. Karl Heinstein, criticizing certain omissions in the American Assembly, writes in the International Review of Missions in January 1949, Christendom still has no unified theological interpretation of Muhammad, of the Quran and of the Muslim world. Such an interpretation can only be acquired from an eschatological viewpoint, such as the Reformation Fathers adopted. We shall have to learn to keep in sight once more, when we look at Islam, not only the distinction between revelation and religion, but even more the distinction between religion and Antichrist. This is also implied in the two recent studies of Islam. This is also implied in the two recent studies of Islam. The Problem by Gottfried Simon, formerly of Sumatra, and Emmanuel Kelreus of Basel Mission. Both are scholarly and also evangelical. The purely objective study of Islam by some writers has led to unreal idealization of the Prophet and his book. Secondly, the colossal dimensions of the world of Islam and its steady increase make the task of evangelism apparently impossible. 1/8 of the population of the globe, 315 million souls, are adherents of this faith, held fast in its bond of brotherhood. Most of the unoccupied mission fields of the world are still the great Muslim areas and populations. Northern Africa and Central Asia are examples, as are also Afghanistan, Western and Central Arabia, Muslim Madagascar, and all Somaliland. There are more Muslims in China than in all Persia and Arabia, nearly 4 million in Europe and 90 million in the two states, Pakistan and Hindustan. They are building the third great mosque in London and also one in Washington. The Muslim press, the pilgrimage to Mecca, and the great Darwish orders and the Arabic alphabet and Quran have knit together this complex of races, languages, tribes and nations into one strange solidarity. And the Muslim world, from which Dr. Calvary has coined a new word, Islamdom, is not in any dictionary but is an impossible reality. All Islamdom faces all Christendom in the year of our Lord of 1949. Point 3. Islam is a totalitarian political faith. It was that from the outset and is that today. The preacher in every mosque. The preacher in every mosque pulpit on Friday, it holds a sword as a symbol of conquest. Islam is not a state church, it is far more a church state, as Lord Curzon has said. Hope for the restoration of the caliphate has disappeared because of mutual rivalries, yet in every part of the Islamic world there is a religious and fanatical nationalism which is reactionary. Their Islam is the region of the state. Doors are closing in Turkey, Egypt and Iran that were open even in the days of the caliphate. In Pakistan they have gone back to Islamic ideals with old laws and restrictions being restored. It is the political aspect of Islam that causes unrest in the Near East, North Africa and Indonesia, for Islam is a pawn on the checkerboard of global politics. The civil rights of Christian and Jewish minorities, the freedom of religion in speech and press, the law of apostasy and the power of Islamic propaganda by press and radio are all involved in this unrest.